Basically, there's a managing director who deals with the business. The artistic director kind of deals with the season and how the plays are going to work and the casting and all that kind of stuff.
Are you allowed to veto some weird directing ideas?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're kind of the man.
Decision maker.
Check. Yeah. So you take over as AD. And
although, can I say one thing?
Yeah.
H.E. Bacchus, when he was the artistic director, we appointed him in the first season. Nobody wanted to do it, so we made him do it. And H.E. was very diplomatic and easygoing, very, he listened to everybody and everything like that. So people were kind of used to a little bit more free-flowing, whatever, let's do this and do that. I came in and I had a very different style.
Yeah,
no question.
It's interesting that even this group. So I'll work with companies where I've worked with companies where they have literally a flat organization, meaning no one's in charge, and they're always very proud of this. It doesn't usually work great. So I find it interesting that even you guys, this group of crazy actors and actresses, says, hey, you know what? We need somebody to be in charge of this ship, right? It's just very interesting from a leadership perspective. Mm-hmm. Even if the leader is a guy like H.E. who's laid back and not really, a heavy leadership presence on every decision, but he's at least got some oversight of the deal.
Yeah, and he's smart and people respect him.
And he's steering it, right? Somewhat, even if he's steering it subtly. So in groups, we need leaders. Just kind of making that point. So you rolling in hot, as they say. I was convinced we needed to approach our work more like a business. The following Monday, I came in with a new set of rules. High on the list was all staff members in by 9 a.m. every day. I made several other changes and even fired someone. Good Lord, the new rules and approach came as a shock to the ensemble, sort of like General Patton had just walked in. While we still maintained our collaborative approach to the direction we wanted to go as a company, as AD, I felt it was time to approach things a bit differently, to step up our game and allow the artistic director to lead in a new way. One rule I implemented was the now infamous, at least among the company, no pot rule. No pot could be smoked or eaten anywhere around the theater until after showtime. No beer either. Everyone thought the no pot rule was hilarious, coming from a guy who openly partook from time to time, but for the most part, everyone went along with it. So what I find interesting about this is I wrote another book here. The book is called Discipline Equals Freedom, Field Manual. And what I find interesting about this is I'm often explaining to companies that you as an individual human being, if you want to have freedom, then you need to have discipline. And I explain to companies that as a company, as a business, if you want to have freedom, you have to have discipline. You have to come up with standard operating procedures. You have to do things like everyone get to work by 9. So I find it interesting that you recognize these things. You obviously saw that, hey, we're doing okay right now, but if we're going to really step up our game, well, I'm going to need to impose some discipline here.
Well, yeah, and that's what it was. I mean, at that time, people would just show up, and I mean, we rehearsed our plays. We were very serious on stage. I mean, everybody loved acting. We loved doing the work on stage, but it was a little undisciplined, as a business. And we were raising money. We had a board of directors. We were trying to sell subscriptions now at this point.
What theater were you guys in at this point?
Now we had moved from Highland Park into the city of Chicago. And so we're in about a 134-seat theater that was already built. We just rented it. And we were building our board, all that. So I wanted to improve all of those things, and I really kind of saw us eventually taking one of our shows and moving it to New York to get international and national recognition and exposure. And I thought that would help us grow in the city of Chicago. So, I had ideas about how I wanted to lead the company, and sometimes they worked with everybody, sometimes they didn't work with everybody, and we'd have to duke it out a little bit or vote on things, and stuff. But eventually, people got used to just the fact that now somebody was making real serious, hard decisions and changing the way we did things.
Another thing that I talk about, and it sounds like there's a little bit of this somewhere, and it's actually a bunch of it in this new book I wrote, Leadership Strategy and Tactics, is when there's a void of leadership, when there's a leadership vacuum, people can sense it and they kind of know it. And if someone steps into that vacuum and starts making decisions, everyone's kind of relieved that it finally happened. People are like, okay, cool. This guy's actually going to move us in. Look, it might not be the perfect direction, but we're all going to move there together, and that's good enough. So it sounds like maybe there was some of that as well. I bet if you'd have jumped in there a few years earlier with this, where there was a little bit more egos and people weren't sure, it might have been resisted more.
You may be right, because I described in the book that we were all trying to find each other and find ourselves and find our working relationships, and people were breaking up, and there's a lot of personal stuff going on. It was a little crazy, but once we moved into Chicago, once that decision was made to move the company away from the suburb of Highland Park into the city where there were other theaters and theater community going on, and to become a part of that, we found ourselves needing some a little more discipline and whatnot. So I just came in and did it the way and believe me, I don't know where that all came from. I as a kid, I think I was the guy to organize the baseball game in the neighborhood, or the guy who come up with a set list for the band or whatever. I always sort of led a little bit like that. So, but I'd never led a theater company before, and this was all new.
I hate to jump into trying to figure some of this out, but you got a 134-seat theater in Chicago. How many shows do you do a week?
We were doing about 8 shows a week.
Oh, so you're doing like a show every night and 2 on Sunday or something like that, or 2 on Saturday?
Yeah, and Monday was the day off.
And then, so 2 on Friday or 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, something like that?
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah.
And are you filling that thing up?
No. From time to time.
Okay.
I mean, the play, for example, that you mentioned, Balm and Gilead, that ended up being one of our massive hits. And it sold out every night. So it all depended on word of mouth and the reviews and all that kind of thing. The play that I talked about, called Savages, with the naked people and everything, that we barely had. We had more people on stage than were in the audience for that one. So,
is 125 people? Do you need microphones in that size? On the actors?
134 seats?
Yeah, sorry, 134 seats. You're not even using microphones.
No, we had 3 rows on the floor, and then there was a little balcony that had 2 rows that went around. It was like a 3/4 theater.
Okay.
So you had audience here, and audience here on 3 sides, and then the
stage.
The play was right here in the middle.
So no microphones, everyone can just hear you, and it's super raw.
Yeah,
and if there's 25 naked people on stage, it's super uncomfortable.
It was really raw, yeah. Really raw, yeah. And these were all they were playing Brazilian, Peruvian, a tribe, and so these were all most of the people that were playing this tribe were from Northwestern students, so as white as you can be, right? So they used a very tan makeup on their bodies and everything, and then after the show they'd have to go to the showers, and there was also a gym with a locker room in this place that we had this theater, and so the entire cast, 25 people, would go into the showers and hit the showers after the show. Luckily, I wasn't in this show. Yeah. I was just the artistic director who made the decision to do the show.
Well, I hate to say this, but you got to take ownership of that. As the guy in charge, you have to own those 25 naked, sweaty people on stage.
I do, but I blame John Malkovich, though.
All right. Well, I'll have to let you guys sort
fun.
that out.
It's a fun memory for everybody. It was a misguided show, but we all get a kick out.
So even though you're paying your actors, everyone still have day jobs at this point?
Some people did,
okay.
Yeah. As artistic director now, I was drawing a little bit of a salary. That didn't
create any hostilities?
No, because we were able to pay certain key people that needed to be there all the time.
Got it.
The artistic director, the managing director, stage manager, people like that. We were able to, our construction folks, we were able to, we were building our board. We were selling more tickets. We were selling subscriptions now.
Subscription means you can come any night of the week.
No, a subscription will mean you pay a certain price and you're buying all, let's say we have 5 plays in a season. You're buying all 5 plays and you get a discount because you're buying all 5. And it's a subscription to the season.
Okay. And we're making enough money. We're paying some people. All right. At this point, you delve into a little bit about, you're talking about Mac, and you're talking about the impression that they made on you, and we kind of already talked about that now. But there's a play that you hear about, and it's a play called Tracers, which is written and performed by Vietnam veterans about their experiences before, during, and after the war. A light bulb clicked on. This is exactly what I was looking for. On February 20th, 1981, I typed a 2-page letter to address to the entire Tracers ensemble in care of director John DeFusco.
Yeah.
The Vietnam vet who conceived the play, co-wrote it, and owned the rights to it. John DeFusco had never heard of Steppenwolf, wrote back and said, "No, sorry, it's a play both written and performed by veterans, and we feel it should be done always that way, so we're not letting anybody else do it." So you waited, time passed. Eventually you invite him to Chicago to see one of your shows.
Bauman Gilead.
Okay. So he sees that place is crowded, and he sees that there's what does he say? You say, gives credibility.
Yeah, the play was very, very good, very powerful. So he could see that we were a real theater company at that point, and he didn't know anything about us at that point.
And then you guys, he says you can do it. And I'll go to the book here. I talked to my brother-in-law Mac about what he thought about putting on the play. He liked the idea and informed me about certain details that I needed to make sure I got right. More than anything, I wanted him to come see the play. But in August 1983, he was diagnosed with terminal cancer. Mac's manual for the Army was published in October 1983. And that same month, his promising career and life were cut short. He passed away at age 39, leaving behind his wife and 3-year-old daughter, Katie. You talk about going to the funeral, the honor guard, the flag-draped coffin, the 21-gun salute. I've never forgotten it. Mac was laid to rest beside his father in the cemetery across the street from where he grew up. Lieutenant Colonel Boyd McKenna Mac Harris truly lived a life of service to others, and his passing only put the cap in my commitment to do the play right. I wanted Tracers to honor the Vietnam veterans such as Mac Harris and help them tell their stories. And then as that's happening, October 23rd, 1983, suicide bomber drives a truck into the building in Beirut. So you've got that happening, and your desire to really do a great production grows even stronger. And you do it. You ran like a boot camp, sort of, to get ready for it. You guys go out in the field and play little war games to try and get in the minds of the soldiers, which I know they do that all the time now. It seems when people are doing movies, they always put some kind of a military boot camp thing together for them. Right. Had you ever heard of that before? Or did you just kind of think we need to do it?
Because I remember a couple years later, this is 1983 that we were starting to work on this play. And remember the movie Platoon with Charlie Sheen and
Affirmative.
Oliver Stone directed it. So that came out about 3 years later, and they did a whole boot camp thing in there. They lived in the jungle for 2 weeks and trained these guys and everything like that. But 3 years earlier, I took this cast out and we did something similar in a way, kind of our own little mini version of boot camp. And I'm not sure where that idea came from. I think it was just the desire to isolate my cast away from everything. And somebody I knew was involved with a summer camp in Michigan that was closed down. And so this is winter time now that we're rehearsing this play. And they said they could arrange for me to go to the close down summer camp and stay in the cabins